Welcome to all of those who are joining us here in person in the Joukowsky Forum at the Watson Institute for International and Public Affairs, and welcome to all of you who are joining us online on our Watson Institute YouTube channel. For those of you who are joining us online, I have one bit of specific technical advice. If you can press the subscribe button underneath the YouTube feed that you're seeing, that will allow you then to ask questions of our panelists. You won't be able to ask questions unless you push the subscribe button. If you're already logged into the YouTube account, then you won't have to do anything else, but if you are not logged in, it will ask you to log in to the YouTube account when you press the subscribe button. And then you'll have the ability to send questions, which we will also field to our panelists. In addition, everyone here in the audience will be able to ask questions, of course, as well, after the panelists have finished speaking. So first, let me introduce myself. My name is Adam Levine, and I am Director of the Center for Human Rights and Humanitarian Studies here at the Watson Institute for International and Public Affairs. The mission of our center is to promote a more just, peaceful, and secure world by furthering a deeper understanding of global human rights and humanitarian challenges, and encouraging collaboration between local communities, academics, and practitioners to develop innovative solutions for these challenges. And perhaps one of the most vexing challenges right now in the world from a humanitarian standpoint is this current situation in Haiti, which is actually composed of not one, but many overlapping crises that have built up over many centuries, but also more specifically in the recent past few years. These include natural disasters such as earthquakes and hurricanes. They include a broader crisis around humanitarian access that has been building due to gang involvement that has shut down roads and blocked off cities and prevented ships from unloading at ports. In addition to that, there's a crisis of government and further crises related to the onset of a cholera epidemic in Haiti that was originally initiated in the aftermath of the earthquake 10 years ago by UN peacekeepers who were there, but has risen dramatically in the past year in terms of numbers of people affected and killed. And also, for the first time in quite some time, the specter of famine within Haiti itself. All of these crises combine together to make an operational response more difficult, and at the same time require us to think much more carefully about the type of response that is provided in order to ensure that it doesn't make the situation worse. And part of the way that this must be accomplished is by bringing together local Haitians and locally driven solutions from the people of Haiti into the conversation. And that's what we're really excited to do today with our three panelists that we have joining us. I'm also excited that we are co-sponsoring this event with the Center for Latin American and Caribbean Studies, and I will now turn it over to my good friend and colleague Patsy to introduce the panelists and tell you more about her center. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Good morning, everyone here, present and online. Thank you for joining us. And it's really a pleasure to be collaborating with Adam and his center on this very important discussion. I am Patsy Lewis, the director of the Center for Latin American and Caribbean Studies. And over the last 3 years or so, we have had over at least 6 events, different discussions focusing on Haiti. And these discussions have ranged from hurricanes, the treatment of Haitians in the Bahamas after, was it 2020? These hurricanes are coming so fast and furious. Migration, just the general problems of Haitians and, migrating and how the kind of treatment they have experienced crossing borders, trying to find relief from, the events internally. the questions, the looming question of U.S. intervention as a way to handle the Haitian crisis. And I have to say, I do not feel very happy about that. I hate having this focus on Haiti always as a place of crisis. I don't feel very comfortable with it, but at the same time, I'm very aware that there are so many crises in the world today that we are in danger of losing sight of the real crisis that Haiti has been undergoing for quite some time, and the very different forms the crises have taken, but with the same effect of creating hardships for Haitian people. So like Adam, I'm very happy that we have 3 Haitian women with us today to reflect on Haiti. And we're not that interested in how other people see Haiti, but very much interested in hearing from Haitians how they see the crisis and, how people experience it on the ground and what ideas they have for moving forward. So I'm very pleased, at least, to have this reflection from our panelists. I will start with introducing Dr. Jacqueline Gautier, who is online. And Dr. Gautier is former director of Damien Pediatric Hospital from 1993 to 2022, during which time she helped to transform it from a hospice center to a well-known 200-bed maternal and pediatric and referral hospital for vulnerable families. Since her retirement as director in 2022, she has served as advisor and development coordinator at Damien, a term which will end in May 2023, completing a 30-year tenure at the hospital. Dr. Gautier will transition to become a consultant in global health and pediatrics in June this year. She is also a past president of the Haitian Pediatric Society and is currently an advisor. She is a member of the Technical Advisory Group for Immunization of the Haitian National Advisory Committee on Immunization. I will ask her to go first, and then she will be followed by Dr. Yveline Alexis, who is here with us. She is in person. Dr. Alexis is Associate Professor, Department of Africana Studies and Comparative Studies at Oberlin College. She was educated at Cornell University and the University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Her first monograph, Haiti Fights Back, The Life and Legacy of Charlemagne Perrault, won the Haitian Studies Association Book Prize in 2021 and was listed by the Times Literary Supplement as a 2021 Book of the Year. Congratulations. That's amazing. And we are hoping to be joined, she hasn't joined us yet, from Haiti by Dr. Sabine Lamour, who holds a doctorate in sociology and has been teaching at the State University of Haiti since 2012. She is a feminist activist and is a general coordinator of the feminist organization Solidarité des Femmes Haïtiennes. She works on imagination, political dynamics, gender relations, feminism, and family dynamics in Haitian society. She is a co-author of the book Déjouer le silence, contre-discours sur les femmes haïtiennes. So I would now, we will ask each presenter to speak for 10 minutes. We will follow up with a few questions, and then we'll open up questions to the audience in person and online. So I would like to ask Dr. Gautier to start. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation, and thank you for the people joining us. When crises erupt, most of the time, the first casualty is health. Whether we speak about natural disasters or man-made crises. The latter are certainly, if I may say, morally unacceptable at this stage of humankind evolution, but it is not the focus of our talk today. And when you think about the first one, natural disaster, you will also find human factors involved. It takes leaders responsible leaders to assure preparedness encompassing prevention and readiness for rescue activities. Currently in Haiti, healthcare is facing enormous challenges. Let's talk about two main components about health: nutrition and healthcare per se. Nutrition first. There is an emergency to solve a hunger crisis. CNSC, National Center of Food Security in Haiti, working in cooperation with several international and civil society associations, in their last communication as of March, a few days ago, they stated that 4.9 million represent 40% of the population, require urgent humanitarian assistance due to food insecurity. According to the IPC, which is Integrated Security Food Phase Classification International, which rank the level of hunger from 1 to 5, a good portion, almost 2 million, are on the 4th rank. So this is serious. We're not on the famine rank yet, or we are not going to be there, hopefully, but we're on the one before the most severe one. What is driving this food insecurity? It started since 2019. Soaring price due to the good instability, the local currency, compared to the dollar, the gangs activity. I think Adam, at the introduction, touched a little bit of that. And also climate changes affecting pluviometry. The food basket grew at an average monthly rate at 12%. I know people in the US, whenever they see inflation or food just at the level of 4, they're panicking. Think about 12% for inflation and for the increase of a basket of food. This is due to an increase in the price of all products in the basket, including wheat flour, maize, vegetable oil, and rice. And you can find more detailed information on the wonderful website of this national governmental body, CNSCA. About healthcare per se, we need to remember that Haiti healthcare was already in distress. According to the last Enquête sur la morbidité et mortalité, called EMUS, and other reports, key indicators illustrate this statement. For instance, our life expectancy is 62 to 67 years. The ratio of healthcare personnel, or precisely physicians to the population, is 4 to 10,000. Think about 26 to 10,000 in the US. Think about 70 to 10,000 in Finland. Infant mortality, I'm a pediatrician, by the way. That means babies die before their 30th day of life. The rate for Haiti is 31 to 1,000 live births. And compare that to Bolivia, which is the closest in the Latin American region, that is 16, just almost half of ours for 1,000. And think about 5 for 1,000 in the US, think about 4 for 1,000 in Cuba. Sanitation, people still lack potable water, and worse, we have the open defecation in the worst level of one of the worst open defecation rate in the world. The WASH program, sanitation program, have helped and even led to the
give us a...
Hello, can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. However, I don't see the... Sorry about that technical... My camera must have...
We can't see you if you're able to turn on the camera, but if not, please feel free to just keep going.
Yes, I will do that. Okay, so all those key indicators that were already on the red, there were a little bit of progress in HIV/AIDS, eradication of some preventable diseases like measles, polio, thanks to a lot of hard workers and also good international global health programs and partnerships. However, some of these programs that permitted progress, many of them are on pause or are facing challenges.
Like pre-recorded
And
now?
Hello?
Yes, please continue.
And it will be very hard to resume those activities at some point. There were in 2019 2 months at the end of the year of pays lock. That means lock. Everybody is locked at home and nobody can function. And those sudden interruptions were due to protests, violent protests in the street. And it's one thing then when garbage is piling up, as we see in the streets of Paris, and it's another one when someone can just get out without risking his life to go fetch water, buy food, or bring a family member to a hospital. Many hospitals in the capital or in the Artibonite Valley, like Hôpital Bernard-Meuse, MSF hospitals, Hôpital Albert Schweitzer in the Artibonite Valley, Hôpital Saint-Damien, or minus the Hôpital Saint-Damien, report a significant increase of the trauma cases due to gunshots, as well as women victims of sexual violence, and I believe one of the panelists will address that. MSF report that the wars among gangs make direct victims among the population as well as collateral victims. Many people are so terrorized that they don't go to hospitals. Many are displaced and live in shelters in promiscuity. Other negative and profound impact. At times, some hospitals have to stop their operations. MSF, Médecins Sans Frontières, stopped temporarily service in Cité Soleil, the burn and trauma center. Hôpital Albert Schweitzer in the Artibonite Valley now offers just emergency care because of those gang activities in the area. All hospitals and ambulatory clinics and pharmacies suffer for procurement, for staff transportation, and worst of all, from brain drain. The results of the disastrous brain drain, Hôpital Saint-Damien, for which I was a director until last year, has lost up to 40% of its total staff. They had certainly to replace most of them. But many times people are terrorized and refuse to work on certain areas because they are in the red zones. They have had at the hospital 4 HR directors, for instance, in 3 years. Staff members are kidnapped. Saint-Damien has had 5 staff members kidnapped. And 2 months ago, one of the former medical directors just disappeared after a rapt by bandits. Last Sunday, listen to this, 2 finishing medical students from the State Medical University were kidnapped on their way to present their final thesis to receive their title of MD. An article of the Nouveniste, the most ancient paper in Haiti, described recently the calvary of a physician's couple who, in despair, asked their relatives in the US to fill an application for them to escape death. leaving behind successful practice and a position of anesthesiologist at the Hôpital Universitaire de Mirebalais, run by PIH. Let's talk briefly about mental health. Is it possible to evaluate the impact of this crisis on the mental health of Haitians right now? I don't think so. The founder of CACIC, Madame Béatrice Thiounier, a well-known psychologist whose organization is offering psychological help in the form of support groups or therapy sessions through phone calls, reports poignant stories. The number of people looking for help increased, and most people are anxious, whether they have been direct victims or have seen a close colleague or relatives' aggressions or kidnappings. One person said, "I am walking with my thumb under my arm. I am dead while pretending to be alive, forcing the appearance of normalcy in front of my children or anybody else." One of my friends, physician expert in infectious diseases, told me recently, crises are not solved by humanitarian impulses, or more or better, crises are fueled by greed. They're not mitigated by humanitarian impulses. However, let's not be too pessimistic. But let's remember that it's enough of counting on people's resilience to a situation that should be improved. True help asks for capacity to live well. Health, as we know WHO says, is not the absence of diseases. In our case, it's very basic. We want to remain alive in Haiti. I will touch the ideas for the way forward, as the title of this webinar says, together with my colleague panelists at a second time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gautier. And now we will turn it over to Dr. Alexis.
Merci en pile. Thank you all for coming today. And in just Haitian format, I greet you with honneur, honor, avec respect, which means respect. So just to think about this reality, that there are multiple realities happening in Haiti at the moment. So there are people calling for a formal intervention by international actors. And the reality is that there's already an informal invasion when we think about the use of U.S. rice over Haitians' delicious rice, right? The use of the U.S. dollar specifically at the expense of the Haitian goud and the Haitian dollar specifically, and also the reality that many Haitians on the ground living in Haiti remind us about. Haiti doesn't make guns. So how are guns and ammunition getting into this country specifically? And what many people on the ground in the nation are talking about there's a historical lens that we always have to remember. So very much like Jean-Jacques Dessalines and people, so many of the unnamed Haitian women that are in the archives and in present, talk about sovereignty, talk about wanting independence in a Haiti for Haïtien avec Haïtien, a Haiti for Haitian women, as well as men. That discourse is alive and present across Haiti today. So I think about sort of the historical actors at play in this present day circumstance. We know of France's role as a colonizer, a brute slave oppressor, and one who demanded indemnity from Haitians in 1825, which was an egregious reparations agreement, right? And so we know the reality that at the time in 1825, it was demanded of 150 million francs, and when people calculate it today, it amounts to over $21 billion. I think, too, about how in my work in looking at U.S. politicians, but also ordinary people, pastors, women, slave owners, non-abolitionist figures who talk about wanting to politically distance themselves from Haiti, to shun the nation, to not have a nation being governed by predominantly Black people and people who had successfully navigated a revolution. So thinking about those 1700s as well as those 1800s discourse, as well as their actions as contributing to these factors. And so when we think about the recent occupation of Haiti by the UN in the form of MINUSTAH, what I remember from walking in Haiti and doing work in Haiti is the violence against Haitians, right? From people who oftentimes look like us but didn't speak our languages, right? So thinking about the violence against Haitians, including our women and youth, notwithstanding sexual violence as well as rape, and as Dr. Gautier just said, the psychological traumas of living under this present, but also these past realities. And so just repeating what was said, because I think it bears repeating, in a nation that has close to 12 million people, the reality that many don't have access to clean water, don't have access to a steady, continuous education when we think about our youth and how important education is for Haitians, both at home and in the diaspora. This level of food insecurity specifically, and then just like this rising fuel prices, how this is all culminating in multiple crises that some created, but certainly we have to look at the international actors at play as well. And I'm sure we'll get into the political discussions perhaps about the former president Jovenel Moïse, but what I wanted to offer us is to think about, I love this idea of thinking about ways past it and solutions as opposed to ruminating simply on the problems. So first and foremost, just to utter what Haitians living in Haiti are saying is that they want a Haiti for all Haitians, right? Haitians look like everybody that's in this room. We're across class and across color and across gender and sexuality spectrums. What does it mean for Haiti to be mine, etc.? I want to daringly say reparations. I think Black and brown people across the world, not specifically in Haiti, need access to land, equitable access to education, and monetary restitution for our ancestors who suffered under slavery and colonialism and imperialism. And I think there are so many ways that we can document now the psychological traumas of slavery and colonialism, and the impacts of Black women bodies, Black men's bodies, Black them bodies specifically. So that's something that I oftentimes think about for Black and brown people. Again, this idea of access to equitable education and land, I want my Haitian women, who are oftentimes the market entrepreneurs, the people that they call the Madame Sarah, the market women, to have the ability to have access to land as well as education. Something that keeps coming up is this idea that Haitians want to be allowed, and I think that's very significant, to actually have an election of a president and an election of a prime minister, right? And this idea that we don't want this person selected or appointed by international actors, but to have a broad spectrum of civil society, whether it is these market entrepreneurs to the professors that are featured here today, making these decisions, these informed decisions, those people who are on the ground. And then what does it mean to have election material available in multiple languages, not simply French and English, but also Creole, and thinking about multiple literacies? We're oral, right? Yes, there's written, but that we are an oral culture as well. So how do we make election materials accessible to these people as well? And I think the last thing that I'll say is this idea of controlling the ports. We don't need soldiers coming in from international communities to control or surveil Haiti, but what would it mean to actually control the ports where these guns, where these ammunitions enter specifically? And I'm reminded oftentimes as a Black woman in the United States, and certainly as a Haitian woman born in the diaspora, as often as I was thinking about the unresolved death of Dr. Sandra Bland and Breonna Taylor, there was a Yveline Sincere in Haiti going through a similar instance where Haitians unfortunately murdered this woman, this young girl. So thinking about these overlapping ways that we need to protect our community, but particularly our women and our youth, and how it's not a Haitian problem, and so we certainly need different solutions, but I think it needs to be governed and sort of spearheaded by Haitians specifically. So I'll leave it there as we get into Q&A.
Thank you so much. And now we will turn it to our last speaker, Sabine. We will have a translation as well during this.
J'ai un souci avec ma caméra.
I have an issue with my camera.
Please
Let me
just
start.
Il y a un souci avec ma caméra.
The speaker is having an issue with the camera.
please go ahead and
Camera,
speak.
says the speaker.
Someone needs to say that in French.
Et pour l'invitation.
Thank you very much for your invitation. What I will be discussing today is to share some insights on collective rape and female. These feminicides in Haiti. This is what we call this war against Haitians. So Haiti is a signatory in 1980 of the United Nations Convention on the Elimination of all forms of discrimination towards women. And despite this fact, the country cannot ensure the protection of its citizens, and the violence against women and girls is one of the most neglected by the Haitian government. The silence of the Haitian government and the international community, except for the media reporting the most heinous crime, seems to be a war against Haitians, especially women. So what is the logic of this war, and what are the motives? These insights are a contribution to trying to understand the situation in Haiti. So since 2018, these collective rapes are used as tools for terror in order to control the Haitian population. These rapes in all sorts of forms, are a way to, because these rapists are generally neighbors, people that are part of the community. And so this is a horrible situation that is full of contradictions, and unfortunately, there are people in power that are since 2011, since the earthquake, and they are financing this violence against women. And so these leaders are accomplices of this horrible, heinous crime. So Haiti has become a lab of organized crime, and this is a situation that's been long observed by national and international media. So to speak of collective rapes in Haiti as part of should be apprehended from a geopolitical standpoint, and so these collective rapes are emblematic of gender-based violence because they crystallize different types of violence. Women are not only raped in this total impunity in Haiti today; they are tortured, mutilated, and their naked bodies are exhibited before everyone's eyes. So these crimes, are sometimes even filmed by these criminals, and we could consider that these rapes are not committed for sexual motives. Their goal is a form of expression. They are a sort of language through which men deliver messages that are intended to women, and especially horizontally to their fellow male citizens. It's a sort of injunction to masculinity, and this is a sort of injunction to power and to control over others. And by extrapolation, these rapes generally lead to submission, society submission, and this compels, the responsibility of the Haitian authority, because if they were more strongly involved and this was considered as a priority, well, would not, this system would not continue. The interpreters apologize, but the speaker is reading a paper, and we do not have we do not have the text available. It is impossible to follow along with this pace and with no video. Thank you for your understanding. Consequently, these struggles of Haitian women have also been related to the disoccupation of the territory. They have favored the system of this feminist movement in Haiti to favor access to citizenship and to be able to enjoy political and civic rights, and to become a citizen in Haiti implies one control over one's body, and to remove the rights to one's body. It facilitates the institutionalization of a regime of terror whose purpose is the total destruction of social and political power. These rapes' purpose is to isolate victims and to discourage victims, and to standardize and normalize these practices. And there are violence against women in Haiti is an essential component of these criminals, and who end up unfortunately cause a major exodus, a rural exodus. And only international organization can help for these to put an end to this situation. These collective rapes against women are central to the destabilization of the country. And currently, the Haitian capital is controlled by armed gangs, and so this is a huge portion of the population that need to displace themselves. And almost daily, women are victims of kidnapping, of extortion, of assassinations and massacres. So from 2018 to 2021, hundreds of cases of collective rapes, and these are unfortunately inaccurate figures because the victims are afraid to speak up. During these 13 attacks perpetrated between 2017 and 2018, 36 individuals have been sentenced for sexual crimes in this jurisdiction in Haiti. And according to the ANRDDH, on July 7, 2022, during a fight between two gangs, there were many victims, and at least 52 women and girls were victims of collective rape. By mentioning the RNDDH, the journalist Tennessee Walker stated that between 2018 and 2022, in 6 of 13 of the massacres that occurred, that were documented by the INDDH, where there are 200 women and girls that suffered from repeated and collective rapes. From January to October 2022, CAIFAM, a women's organization that is active on the ground, has received 34 cases of violence against women and sexual violence. And so this, unfortunately, continues. These are very sad statistics that continue. And in the Southeast, well, there's an organization that received in 2022 34 complaints that were lodged for rapes, including 5 cases of collective rapes. The RNDDH notes that over the years, the state authorities have expressed less of an interest to prosecute cases of rape against women and girls. From 2018 to 2021, no one involved in the 13 massacres that were reported by the RNDDH was sentenced for sexual crimes, first prosecuted for sexual crimes. The extension of these criminal groups in the metropolitan area of the capital is also coupled by a surge in violence against women that is becoming increasingly alarming. So in September 2021, there were more of a dozen kidnappings that took place in the metropolitan area. Their victims were mainly women. Mentioned the Minister of the female transition. And so these cases obviously cause major health and psychological and economic repercussions on women. Such a violence cannot arise from the daily life of this community. This is learned. This violence is learned. It is planned. It is thought out, and is perpetrated with the guarantee of total impunity. These cases of repeated rapes that are non-prosecuted unfortunately mar society. And there are also women that were raped in in open daylight. Mentioning diverse sources. So according to the most recent report of the RNDTH, the surge in insecurity has only continued to be exacerbated, and a number of women were assassinated before being thrown into wells. These war gangs, these gang wars, women are raped and murdered. The assassination of women is a very concerning fact that is coupled with a willingness to remove any dignity from the victims. This women's shows that are publicly executed, that are burned and mutilated, and that are thrown has become unfortunately very common. And so these acts are not a simple manifestation of insecurity. These are patriarchal crimes that reflect the violence against women due to their gender in a context where their state is absent. So these crimes are unfortunately a reflection of complete denial of women's rights in Haiti. This is a real form of organized crime. And these gangs are a second state in the Haitian state. So these are criminal organizations that act in cooperation with all of these states' organizations that they try to conquer territories. The political crisis coupled with this growing, crisis, also impact this violence against women and girls in Haiti for several decades. How can we require a more strict legislation when the state is indifferent to these issues? To whom will these issues be reported? These collective rapes and rapes in general, unfortunately, remove all dignity from women, deprive women of all of their dignity, of their empowerment and their reclusion, to be able to fully enjoy their citizen rights. These rapes' role is to cause women to harm women, and so the actions to fight against women's violence against women, unfortunately, are insufficient. These are unfortunately insufficient. Women's bodies are become a war zone and serve as to put a whole population hostage. With this orchestrated terror, which aims to deprive women of all their destiny by breaking the actual fiber and spirit of Haitians. So the population that continues to stand strong, continues to fight to ensure, to hopefully achieve its liberation. Women, despite all of these struggles, continue to fight to take ownership of their body, of their dignity, and their citizenship. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sabine Lamour. And now we're going to open it up to questions. We'll have Tristan here going around with the microphone if anyone has questions. And while you're thinking about your question, we're going to start with our first one here from Dr. Patsy Lewis.
Thank you all for this very interesting, these presentations, very interesting presentations. I wanted to know, the second part of the question is there a way through this? Is there a way forward? And I know there have been internal proposals in Haiti for how to move forward out of this crisis, sometimes not in agreement. And I would like your comment on this, but a follow-up, and I think it's implicit in this, is both of you, Dr. Alexis and Dr. Lamour, you seem to have slightly different views of the role of the international community. Dr. Alexis, you said that international intervention, or that it's a Haitian problem unless you're helping to control the movement of guns into Haiti. And Dr. Lamour said that in terms of the collective rape of women, there needed to be an international response, international organizations in response. I just wanted you guys, you three, to comment on what you see as possible ways out of the crisis.
Should I go first? Yeah, definitely. No, I definitely think this, this is a problem that has like multiple heads, right, and multiple actors involved in it. And so just speaking to different Haitians who actually live in Haiti, they talk about how they do not want soldiers, like a repeat of what happened in 2004 with Munista, or a repeat with what happened in 1915 to 1934, even with Aristide, in terms of international soldiers policing, surveilling, and unfortunately harming many Haitians. So what many of them have articulated is this idea of how can we control guns from coming into Haiti? How do we block these ports from bringing in these guns, bringing in these ammunitions specifically? So I know lately, I think it was recently in Canada, I know Trudeau said that he didn't want to come to Haiti. He has offered enough support in terms of different types of aid, not specifically soldiers. Biden is sort of, I don't know what Biden is doing. He's doing one of these. I don't know what the word is for that. I guess like waiting. And so it's an interesting, I don't know, it's just like an interesting situation where you want this situation handled by Haitians. And I think many of them are calling for this idea that we need a two-party executive happening. We need a fairly elected president as well as a fairly elected prime minister, not someone that is selected or appointed, or in many cases, how some people are viewing how the de facto prime minister Ariel Henry is holding on to power. And so, yeah, that's where I'll leave it. But I hear her point, specifically Dr. Lamour's point, when I think about so many of the ladies and the young kids affected by rape, beginning with Yveline Sincere and so many of our youth, our young girls being impacted by this violence. It's disheartening. And I really appreciate, Dr. Lamour, I don't know if you can hear the fact that you use that term rape so consistently in your talk, because it's so jarring and it's needed for us to ruminate and think about that. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Dr. Lamour or Dr. Gautier, would you like to
Oui,
respond?
merci beaucoup. Et merci beaucoup. Moi-même, ce que j'aimerais dire à propos de
What I would like to say with respect to this is that the problem is that we are not requesting U.S. intervention or Canada's intervention in Haiti. What we want is these countries to stop sending weapons to Haiti, because Haiti, as Dr. Alexis said, does not produce any weapons. So where are all these weapons coming from that are fueling the violence in Haiti?
Is it possible?
If these weapons don't move around in Haiti, maybe we will be able to help the population, because the idea is to prevent the population from claiming their rights. These weapons have started circulating in Haiti when the question was asked, where is the money? And that's when violence started out in society. It's to prevent citizens from requesting and claiming some sort of accountability to the government. But why can't we, just like in any other democracy, why can't we ask questions to those that govern us with respect to the way they are governing and with respect to funds, because Haitians
à cet argent-là. Je pense qu'à un certain moment
want to
aussi,
know where this money went. And the idea is, just like I said, it's not just to say that we don't want an armed intervention in Haiti. And it's true, we don't want that, because we've seen what that led to with the latest intervention of MINUSTA, because MINUSTA just brought cholera to Haiti, and the gangs just took over, and they became way more aggressive. And so we need to change the strategy. We need to find a different solution. But to find the strategy and solution, we need to make sure that weapons don't enter Haiti anymore, because that's really the problem with Haiti. When we look at the different ramifications and when we look at all of that, the question is why we are unable to help the police.
il y a une forme de veto des pays, des Nations
There
Unies.
is a form of veto from the United Nations and the United States and Canada that refuse that the police be armed normally to defend the territory, even if that's not the role of the police. But the police cannot face these problems without any weapons. Between January and March, about 20 police officers were killed by gangs, and the state doesn't want to say anything with respect to what's going on, but the population is just left alone. We have nothing to face all of this violence.
Dr. Gautier.
Thank you.
Would Dr. Gautier like to address the question?
Yes. Do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Can you open the camera, my camera, please?
I don't think we can open your camera.
We can't see you, but you can go ahead and ask the question.
But could
Or
you
answer the
try to
question.
Open? Yeah, I'm going to, but I'm told that the host has closed my camera.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Can you open it?
C'est la même chose pour moi.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, I will address. Okay, thank you. Still. And speak. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So I will address the specific question of occupation at the end of my comment. I wanted to make two main comments. Primo, we Haitians need to remain engaged every day and together to keep pressuring the leaders to find solutions bringing rapid short-term results while putting in place the blocks to reorganize the fabric of the nation. In the name of patriotism, they need to act fast and accept they're not able to if they're not able. Otherwise, they're part of the problem. The new revelations as of this week about the illegal traffic of weapons provide details on how the system is rigged and how many institutions, including churches and the parliament, not functional now, were infiltrated with predators. There is enough information to act and discourage other predators in the making. And there is a need also to evaluate recent measures, either to reinforce or change them. I want to talk about that new group that was created to work closely with the government to find solutions. And this group reports not having the needed resources to work. Segundo, we need to engage the core group. Maybe some of the people in the audience don't know what it is. It's a group of countries naming themselves Friends of Haiti. they need to stand to their denomination and keep Haiti as their highest priority. We are asking them to truly join the efforts in fighting the illegal weapon, as my colleagues just said, and assist, more importantly, efficiently, the National Police Force. We can't afford more delays or meager solutions like sections, they need to be evaluated, or keeping measures that were in place and resulted in the current chaos. So these countries, they need to act on the basis of regional solidarity and also because of the duty of reparations toward our nation. We would not have enough time to talk about the duty of reparation here, but I think most of you here have probably read the ransom article that was very enlightening in New York Times last year. So to address specifically about intervention, that is true, intervention had made more harm than good in Haiti from 1915. However, we're currently seeing that the police force is being depopulated. Many of them are applying to leave the country. And who wants to blame them? Sabine just said that 20 died in a matter of 3 months, right? And there is corruption. And those are known, they are not secrets. So we need to act locally. When I say locally, Haitians, all the Haitians, the diaspora, and the Haitians locally, and also keep the core group of Friends Country of Haiti accountable. They need to help us. Thanks.
Thank you. I think we had a couple questions here in the audience. I think first you.
Yeah. Bonjour, Alexis. Bonjour. Hello, Professor. My name is David Benoit. I wanted to ask specifically on the current relationship of Haitians and humanitarian organizations since the 2010 earthquake. The first time I went to Haiti to visit my family and friends was in 2009. And since going back, the damage that I saw from the earthquake, I see each time I go back. And speaking with my family and speaking with the Haitian diaspora in the US, there's this understanding that humanitarian aid, the money that has been poured in, the aid that has been poured in from Red Cross, ICRC, so many different organizations, has not helped at all and has exploited Haitians and hurt. I wanted to know if that is factual. I know there are so many things that also, so many conversations that aren't like data backed that happen in the Haitian community as well. So I kind of wanted to know your opinions on that, and where do we go from that, and what are the relationships that need to be fixed and the issues that need to be addressed within those two parties.
Now, Dr. Gautier, do you want to start by responding to that question?
Can you summarize briefly again for me?
The question is regarding all of the humanitarian aid that Haiti has received since the 2010 earthquake, and where it has gone and why it seems that Haiti still hasn't recovered from that earthquake, and whether the money has been misspent and whether it's done more harm than good or had a positive impact.
All of this is true. There has been a lot of corruption, and there are documents about that, and there are movies like Raoul Peck, who was a minister in Haiti under Aristide, has a wonderful movie called Assistance Mortelle. Maybe some of you have seen it or not, and I recommend that you try to see it for Arte. So where we explain how there was a lot of corruption. And when you take corruption, it's both locally and internationally. And again, it calls about leadership of locals. It's our country, it's our people, it's ours. So we need to really work together. Let's imagine, for instance, there would be the need for a short group of international people. No army on a country is commanded by foreigners, right? So why would we accept a foreign army to come and then they do whatever they want. If we are able to take the lead in either managing money or managing international forces, there can be some ways to be creative about getting some help while we put our act together. So to answer to the question, no, it was not really well managed, the money for the rescue. That's why we are suffering. So we're just having a worse crisis now. We've been in crisis for a while.
Question here.
Hi, thank you so much for being here and for your really great interventions. Brian Meeks from Africana Studies at Maryland. I'm posing my question with due respect and in agreement with the notion that we don't want to see any foreign intervention in Haiti. But here's the dilemma as far as I see it and the problem that I think we face. The genie is already out of the bottle. The guns are there, right? The gangs are well armed. And, you know, to use a sort of revolutionary theory analogy, there's a sort of dual or multiple power already existing in Haiti in which really, I mean, policemen, you know, seeking visas or trying to flee the country is a telling moment in terms of who has the power. And do the gangs have the power? I mean, is this already the default situation? And therefore, where do we go from here? In other words, if there is no state to, you know, to stop the guns from coming in, or to, you know, then we have a default situation of these gangs. The question, therefore, is one question which I think needs to be asked is, are the gangs all uniform in their sort of equal location as basis for rape and abuse, etc.? Is there a differentiation to be made between different gangs? In other words, is there any potential in any of these gangs that could ally with forces that are trying to make a positive change in Haiti? Or are the gangs to be discounted entirely? My own inclination is that they probably need to be discounted, but they have power, and therefore, how do you deal with that? And okay, so you stop all weapons from coming in, but the weapons are still there in numbers. So I'm just really posing a set of dilemmas in relation to state power, and how do you move forward when the state, however corrupt it may be, however you know, flawed it may be, no longer has power.
Who would like to take a crack first?
Gotcha. I can go ahead. So I just wanted to return to your question. I just loved your question. Thank you so much for asking it too. Thinking about how many of us, we don't support the Red Cross and all those international associations. The goal is always to support organizations that are already in existence in Haiti. So I think about Haiti Community Trust, Dr. Lamour's association, so many Haitian women and feminists and other Haitian youth and children's groups that are led by Haitians, organized by Haitians, and have their accountability in terms of finances and political structure. That's who we support because we've learned that lesson often, not only from that earthquake, but how stratified it was, right? Where you have people, and just not to put them out there, living with domestic staff and chauffeurs, and Haitians not getting paid the same amount as this international actor who comes in, even though they're doing the same exact work. We've learned so many lessons from that. So I always say support the organizations who are on the ground and certainly have the good track record of helping the nation out specifically. For this gang question, it's true, Professor Meeks, what you're saying. Like, I mean, it's here. What do we do now, especially in terms of the guns and the ammunition? From my own understanding, what people are talking about is one particular figure was actually trained by the UN. So how do we then sit down with people who are not for Haitians themselves? They're operating with outside actors already and being trained to harm. And so oftentimes what's coming up is people thinking back to the first Duvalier, François Duvalier, and how he invited the U.S. military to train the Tonton Macoute against his Haitian people. And so these parallels keep coming up. And it'll be interesting to hear what Dr. Lamour thinks about, I don't know, the diversity of the gangs in terms of their control. We do know that Port-au-Prince is the bedrock of these people, but I don't know. I don't know how you bring them into the room, although I hear your point very clearly.
Can I just tack on to that question? What are their demands? I think that's a good place to start. What are these gangs fighting for? And how might their demands be different? And in a sense, can you differentiate among them, I think?
Sure. Some are asking for the resignation of this de facto Prime Minister, Ariel Henry, and then linking it to this rising food prices and the fact that children do not have steady access to school. And then, of course, rape is coming up, but not at the level of all these other things, like basic necessities, etc. But honestly, this idea of you have Jovenel Moïse being assassinated, and pursuant to the Constitution, within 120 days, there should have been a new election. And yet here we are in 2023, and there's still a de facto prime minister who's holding on to power. That's causing a number of issues. But I would love to hear what Dr. Lamour says about this. Sorry, you all, as well.
Bon, je pense que par rapport à la question, comment est-ce, je sais pas, parce que pour moi-même,
So I'm not sure. I think that, I have a hard time understanding that we can also engage in any sort of discussions or negotiations with gangs, because on the ground, in terms of harm, we are experiencing the strife of these people. How can we sit around a table with them? As far as, even in terms of, even morally, how can we speak to these people? I think that's a real question at hand. That's what always struck my mind. Because with regard to gangs in Haiti, as far as the moral fabric, how can we reinstate the Haitian society to actually reestablish trust in society and to create this collective dynamic to be able to overcome this crisis? This is where the real dilemma lies, and that we are faced with in the country, because the people that are killing and raping, etc. These are people that are part of the communities and that live by our side. And honestly, I think this is the absolute worst crisis that we've experienced in Haiti since the collapse of the dictatorship, because socially speaking, this is the first time that we don't have the opportunity to come together, and the violence is as dense as it's ever been, and it is blind, in fact. And for myself, and I don't really have any answer on how we can proceed, but at least, I've heard this question, this issue, this idea of amnesty for myself. I don't think it's possible for Haiti, because what I can say is that one of the areas of intervention of the feminist, of the Haitian feminist movement and this fight against impunity is also through these fights that we are carrying out. And so the aggression rate that we are faced with in society, I'm wondering how we will manage to overcome this situation. I don't have an answer, but to first, preventing men from coming to Haiti can also be a way to control violence and to try to talk to these leaders, because what also happens that we are faced with a state that also refuses to be structured and that is sharing its space with gangs. Simply to continue terror. To continue keeping this power. over the population, because if the state does not deliver services public services, and that if NGOs aren't here to provide palliative services, we will have to, engage in this discussion with our political leaders. I think that there is a sort of obstruction in the dialogue between the leaders and citizens. Maybe wouldn't it be better to support the dialogue construction process between leaders and citizens that could maybe allow us to push forward? How can we overcome this situation?
Thank you. Maybe we can just give Dr. Gautier a chance to respond as well, and then we would come to some more questions.
I'd like to, in support of the last comment you made, Sabine, I'd like to comment on it about the NGOs, since I directed a hospital that was really funded and supported by an NGO, although we claim we became local because we've been functioning in the country for 37 years. We have to remember that more than half of the healthcare is in the hand of private hospitals, of which 40% of those private hospitals are run by NGOs. It would be very difficult not to count on them. But that's another discussion. That would be also another discussion about the interesting question of the gentleman about reintegration, I would hear from the gang leaders. To answer this, we would need other people who have really studied in details how those gangs came about and the history and the sociology. There are root causes we need to address: poverty, of course, leaving all those young people in the slums, and so it's easy to turn into gang activities, but also manipulation and using of those young by politicians. Mm-hmm. We need to remember all of those. In other words, just looking for another program, for a program that would aim at integrating those people would have to consider the whole package, the people around that. That's why it has a little bit of interest looking at the sanctioning people who may have interaction or may also helping the gangs, but it's not just that. It's also the whole root causes why those youngsters were vulnerable to this trap, and how the parliament or other leaders would stop to use those people during election times. And that's what makes election not necessarily right now a good solution, because what you have obtained with manipulation of an election before, you would have to change that. Mm-hmm. When I mentioned on my speech about the fabric of the nation, that's what I'm referring to. So there are people who have worked, and at least there is one gentleman, I think, who turn into a normal life after being a gang leader. And so there are possibilities, but they have to be studied carefully by people with experience in the matter.
Thank you so much. So I wanted to get to some of the online questions, and we have 7 of them, but most of them can probably be summarized by just following on actually Dr. Gautier's last point, a question about elections in Haiti. And so some of the points, Dr. Alexis, that you had made is the need for the Haitian people to be able to lead through these crises. And in order to do that, they need to have the constitutionally mandated election, both for president and also for parliament, in order to choose the leadership of Haiti to find the way through. The question is, from several of the online viewers, how do you host an election in the setting of this violence in Haiti? What are there sort of innovative ways that could go about hosting an election when so much of the country is under the control of gangs or unable, or people feel uncomfortable, unsafe leaving their homes? And if there is no international intervention to allow the security situation to host an election, what are the other options for securing the situation in Haiti long enough, at least, to hold an election for a new government? the points about stopping the flow of guns are well made, but as has been mentioned, there are already many guns in Haiti, and even stopping the flow of guns would require some sort of government to impose border controls and a blockade to be able to prevent guns from coming in. So how does that also happen in the absence of an election or in preparation for an election? So do you want to start first, Dr. Alexis, and then we can go
Sure.
around?
Definitely. This makes me think, too, about sort of the debate that is happening now. So there's this accord known as the December 21st, I believe, document, where this de facto Prime Minister Ariel Henry claims that he, as well as private sectors and some members of civil society, actually had this agreement where he would remain in power for the next 14 months, I believe, and then host elections so that we have a new government by February 7th of 2024. And what many people are calling for is this reality that so many of the popular, well-represented political parties did not sign onto this accord, and they're talking about how allegedly there are many people that have signed it with the same name. So they're questioning and challenging this idea of, is this a moment for Henri to hold on to power that perhaps he should not have had in the first place? And what keeps coming up is this idea of broad sort of like inter-Haitian dialogue, and Haitian being specifically on this ground, because it sounds like people just want a voice to talk about what is it that I want, what is it that I need. And if you have over 10 political parties in existence in a nation, that can be possible, as we've seen with the whole 1987 Constitution. So I think that's the first step. Like, how is it that Henri himself can listen to the broad spectrum of people in terms of hosting a fair election? How to do it, I don't know as a historian just yet, but being held accountable in terms of thinking about, people want transparency. They want to be able to know how was this accord signed by these people? Why wasn't a broad spectrum allowed? Is really what keeps coming up. So that's how I'll answer that one. Yeah, I don't know if the others.
Dr. Gautier, do you want to go next?
Well, I think simply elections are not possible right now.
Mm.
And so they need to continue, we need to continue to explore how to stabilize the country. There is no possibility for any election currently in the next few months.
And Professor Lamour?
Et moi, je partage l'avis de Madame.
I concur with Mrs. Gautier because I don't see how we can hold elections in the current context. Because if weapons continue to enter into Haiti, we cannot hold the election, and women will not be able to participate. Most of the population will not participate in this election. And so we need to make sure that weapons are not coming in. If we prevent weapons from coming in, maybe then we will be able to have a situation that's more or less stable, with violence that can be controlled, and then we can start talking about when and how to go through the democratic process and hold the elections.
Now, to discuss, because there are a lot of proposals on the table right now, and many other people, other groups involved who have been studying before even Jovenel died and after, to be able to go more in depth in the discussion about how with or without the current government to go about pacifying and about, as I said, putting the basis of the new fabric of the nation.
Thank you. So I have a question, and hopefully just try and keep your answers brief because we are reaching the end of time soon. We probably have time for a couple more questions. If you could tell President Biden right now one thing that he could do for Haiti or with Haiti to solve this problem, what would it be?
I would go back to my idea about the highest priority. The way the government now is working doesn't seem Haiti is the highest priority. Once you decide that, you will find people, the correct people to talk to and to move forward. But you have first to decide it is. I know you have local problems here. I'm in Arlington. I could go ahead and deliver that message myself. But currently, we need that will to put Haiti as the highest priority and then start the real, continue the real conversation and take the creative decisions.
I think for me, just interacting with so many loved ones who want to bring people over, as we're talking about and hinting at. I mean, so many people are trying to flee IET, but looking at Biden's immigration plan for that and how it puts the responsibility on people on the ground to provide financial support for an individual for 2 years, it's very limiting, and it's insulting. Actually, it's very. It's an interesting sort of like hands-off approach of if you can help them, then they'll be allowed to be here. But this context of us managing our own forms of inflation and having to bring someone that we care about and love over here and saying that we'll have to have financial documents that show that we can provide for them for 2 years is very disheartening. So I would say readjust that immigration plan and make it something that is less insulting. Yeah.
Professor Lamour?
Et moi-même, à un certain moment, je m'étais dit que et si les
I
Haïtiens
also have said that if Haitians wish to address these issues that they're experiencing, well, maybe, I mean, when there are major issues, what are we used to doing? Well, anthropologically, maybe should we conduct sociological and anthropological research, and so maybe we can see these conflict resolution modalities. I mean, because the Haitian culture is so rich, and to provide solutions. I mean, I think that if the international community refuses to help Haiti, or if it's not possible for that matter, because there are, I mean, obviously countries have their own issues to deal with. Well, maybe Haitians should maybe rely on their own devices to see how they can get themselves out of this crisis situation. And that at a given time, well, maybe there could be a sort of federation or find solutions to overcome these issues, because in any case, we must address this issue. Otherwise, these gangs will continue to take on, to cause all of this damage for the time being. These are the solutions that I am currently discussing.
Thank you. We have time for one more question. Does anyone in the audience here in person have a question? If not, I will give it to my colleague Patsy for the final question.
Okay, the final question is too really, but you don't have to answer. But it's just, how do you see the Haitian diaspora as helping to contribute in a positive way? And also, you mentioned reparations as, I mean, which I'm fully in agreement with, but I was just wondering how reparations in deeply unequal, a situation of deep inequality would actually do what one might hope it to do, want it to do.
Definitely. I guess to address the first part of your question, I'm always team, what do Haitians who actually live there want us? I want myself to be an ally to what they're saying, what they're articulating, as opposed to my wish and my desire for them. And so, yeah, for me, this idea of Haiti led by Haitians is always central to me. And this idea of like, I can listen, I can certainly support, but I want to know what is it that a multiple faction of different Haitian communities want and desire and need, as opposed to someone, I have not been to Haiti since late 2019. And so it's hard for me then to tell the people how to live their lives when I'm not living it. So yeah, I'll certainly be there and have been there as an ally, as a supporter, etc. But listening to what they need and acting in accordance is how I approach that. Yeah. And then reparations for me, I was just like, yes, your point is very well taken. I know this comes up a lot in our Caribbean communities too. I'm thinking of something as not simple, simple but so significant as equitable access to education, having the doors open for the people who cannot afford these tuition rates. So starting there, let alone the land, which I think is so key, but having access to education that is free for Black and brown people across the world, and specifically in a space like IET, where oftentimes tuition can keep you from quote unquote, formal education. Yeah.
And final response from, let's start with Dr. Gautier.
Final response to Patsy questions?
Yes.
Okay, reparation, and the other one was what, Patsy?
Diaspora.
Diaspora.
The diaspora is quite engaged already. I would encourage them, and I'm becoming one because I live in the US now. And so they need to keep that engagement. And there are a number of initiatives of cooperation of diaspora under local community. I'm thinking in the north in education, in the south at Comparative. So they need to continue, because you can be a bit more powerful living in a country as powerful than the US than we can at some point, even though we respect your approach and we appreciate your approach about giving people on the sides the lead. It all turns back to people on the side to have the lead, recognizing that we will not get out of this crisis without international help. Nevertheless, we would be in charge. When I say we would be, I mean responsible and accountable leaders. And about reparation, the history is there. And there are examples of other places where reparations are underway. It starts with changing the narrative. And it has started in museums when you visit. I was just visiting recently on the cherry blossom, the garden of the president who had polio, was fell. And so there was recognition that Black people here were not in the story then. So it starts with the narrative and it goes to factual things. And then it's a wonderful example about giving education as a way to repair, but there are plenty of others. When you start to think, to change the narrative and to recognize the harms created, then I'm confident that there will be other good programs coming to repair, because reparation is important.
Thank you. And Professor Lamour?
Par rapport à ce qui se passe sur le terrain, comment
As
est-ce
far
que
as what's taking place on the ground and how the diaspora can help, I believe that maybe there could be a professional network to support Haitians. There needs to be a platform to be able to discuss everything that's taking place. In terms of, the mental load is quite burdensome. I mean, I think that this could have helped, I mean, Haitians to verbalize things, because some people cannot even voice what they are experiencing on a daily basis in Haiti. We could also help in the massive broadcasting and of raising awareness of what's happening in Haiti. People are unfortunately unaware of what is taking place, because everyone's dealing with their own issues, and the crisis has lasted for a very long time, from 2018 to date, but we still haven't been able to find a solution. And so it's really about massively, I mean, raising awareness about what's taking place in Haiti.
Les gens saisissent franchement auprès des gouvernements. Je sais que ça a
I
été
mean,
fait.
governments need to be solicited over time and again,
Pas de réponse par rapport à ce qui.
and it's true that sometimes, I mean,
En Haïti, c'est pas
there's
ce
the
qui va arriver.
Bogadin program in Haiti that has also been launched
Franchement. Mais on ne peut pas se permettre
to
le luxe de ne pas
try
faire.
to address these issues, but we cannot afford the luxury not to intervene.
Plus il faut soutenir aussi les procédures.
We need to support procedures. The speaker is breaking up. The speaker is inaudible.
C'est pas de ce qui se passe et faire des recherches.
I mean, it's important to conduct research, and I believe that Haitians from diaspora
Universitaires.
that are in academia, I mean, if these people can help,
Dans ces sens-là, je pense que parce qu'il y a une forme de démobilisation.
because there's a form of citizen mobilization in Haiti. Even in terms of mental load, I mean, this could definitely be helpful to those suffering from this situation and this form of mobilization to fight against what's happening in Haiti. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And on behalf of our Center for Human Rights and Humanitarian Studies and the Center for Latin American and Caribbean Studies, we thank all of our panelists for joining us in person as well as from Haiti, and then also want to thank everybody joining us in person as participants here in the Joukowsky Forum at the Watson Institute, as well as everyone online. Thank you for your questions, and thank you for an incredible discussion today.
Thank you.